Congratulations, you're pregnant, you want to move, that's wonderful. Here are some of my top tips. Hey, I'm Ksenia. I'm an ex-professional dancer and multi-certified body nerd and also the creator of La Technique. I would like to acknowledge that I'm based on the unceded territory of the Teotihuacan, specifically of the Huron-Wendat, the Mohawk, and the St. Lawrence Iroquoian peoples. This land was traditionally a meeting place, and my intention is to honor the indigenous use of this land by keeping it a meeting place for the beautiful basic community, even though we are digital. And my own personal act of reconciliation is to donate my disposable income to the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal. I know it's longer, but it was brought to my attention that my land acknowledgement came off as performative, and that was not my intention at all whatsoever. So you learn better. I'm trying to do better. Congratulations, you're pregnant. Wicked. Let's get right to it. The first thing you want to do is see your obstetrician, of course, but to ask if there are any contraindications for movement, if you are cleared for physical activity, because there can often be issues related to the developing baby or your own body. It could be hypertension, high blood pressure, could have something to do with implantation, could have something to do with your cervix, a multitude of factors. So make sure you ask, don't ever assume. 2, while you're there, ask your obstetrician, what is my max heart rate? And then do not pass it. This has to do primarily with your age, but if there are other physical factors, which your healthcare provider will know, they will tell you right then. And then I recommend getting a heart rate monitor. I never used to recommend this, but now I do, having been pregnant myself, and I'll tell you why later. I use this Garmin, which I love. It's also a GPS. I'll link everything down below. You found someone that you want to work with or you want to take a class, but you're not sure how to do that, please watch my other video on prenatal. I'll link that down below as well. And once you found that person, if you have any pain while you're in that class or right after, you either stop immediately during the class and then you call your healthcare provider or you see your healthcare provider. I usually say, even in my regular classes, if you have a red flag, stop. When you're pregnant, I like to say amber flag, just because it's a delicate situation and it's 2 hearts are going at the exactly same time, and lungs. It's incredible what you're doing, truly. It's a freaking miracle. If you have any bleeding during or after class, immediately you stop, and again you call and you see your healthcare provider. This happened to myself personally. I was terrified. I've had multiple miscarriages, and that's what I thought what was happening. And they got me in to see my obstetrician immediately, like as in 24 hours, not even. I think I was there. I called my doctor and she gave me the number, and I was there within 4 hours. To give me an ultrasound just to verify that everything was okay. And thankfully, yes. Also, why it's important to do that, because if you think, oh, well, it's just a bit of spotting can be normal during pregnancy. Absolutely, it can be, but sometimes it's not normal, and doing any kind of physical activity, especially training, can exacerbate that, and no one wants that to happen. So please go see your obstetrician, because for myself, for 2 weeks, I was not allowed to do, there was contraindications for physical activity. I wasn't cleared. That was hard mentally, very hard mentally, but necessary. And I'm so grateful that I listened to my obstetrician. Next, look at your urine output. This can even be during class or after class. If you are a dark yellow, that means that you haven't had enough water. Twice as many blood vessels are being developed around the pelvis to support the growth of that baby. Our body needs that much more water. So in my regular classes, or in general, it's recommended that we have 4 ounces of water for every 15 minutes of intense exercise. That shifts when we're pregnant because we need that much more water. So I usually say every 10 minutes, you want to have at least a sip of water. And 4 ounces is a half a cup. I'm not saying to drink a half a cup every 10 minutes, but at least have a couple sips of water every 10 minutes or so. For myself personally, I aim, and because I was also a professional singer, I always aimed for my pee to be clear. But then you have to be careful, because that can make your electrolytes, the level of salt in your body, go out of whack. So we just really don't want that dark yellow. Next, I want you to eat after class within 45 minutes. We need to restore that glycogen to your muscles because everything is going to the developing baby. We want to make sure that your body is being cared for as well. What do you eat? Lean protein, fat, carbohydrate, fiber. And the reason we have those four together is also to balance blood sugar. That helps balance serotonin and dopamine levels in the brain, which then assists cortisol levels and all the other hormones in your body. I'm plant-based, so something that I ate often before and after class, which was super easy for me. A handful of almonds, so there's my protein, there's my fat, and an apple, there's my fiber, and my carbohydrate. Or hummus with broccoli and carrots. There's my protein, and drizzle over olive oil. There's my fat. If I want more protein, I'd put hemp seeds on it, which is more protein and fat. And then my carbohydrate and fiber was the carboccoli, the carrot and the broccoli. If you are animal-based, something wonderful is a boiled egg. It's so easy to transport. It's incredibly easy for the body to utilize all of the protein or a very large portion of the protein available in that animal product out of all of the animal products. So you'd have a boiled egg, which is your protein and your fat, and have cabbage or an apple, because those are both carbohydrate with fiber. It's just the apple will just be a little bit sweeter. Or you could have like a coleslaw salad, a sliced apples, sliced cabbage with some olive oil, a bit of balsamic vinegar, some hemp seeds on top. There you go. There's another plant-based one right there. What? Or add some sliced chicken. Something I've been saying, but I'm going to keep reiterating it because I find it's really important, is talking about first trimester prenatal. From my own experience, I've suffered from multiple miscarriages, and I do not want anyone else to experience that at all, especially when they're trying to conceive. It's just not worth it. There's so many contraindications for movement during the first trimester. And if you're curious what those specific movements are, please come onto my website. Everything is there in the LTD membership. It takes you through trimester by trimester of movements you should avoid and what movements that you actually can do. And if you're curious about more, please go back and watch the prenatal. Again, it's linked down below. And to continue in that vein, IVF and IUI, if you are doing exercise or movement that is high intensity interval training, that shoots your cortisol levels way out of whack, which then destabilizes the rest of the hormones in the body. And we really need the body to be functioning at an optimum level for conception. That's just something to think about in the back of your brain. That's why I often say I do not recommend any of my videos for anyone going through rounds of IVF or IUI. Until you are cleared and you are in that second trimester after 16 weeks, come on and see me, yo. Okie doke, let's do a recap. 1, see your obstetrician and ask if you are cleared for physical activity, that there are no physical contraindications for movement. 2, ask what your max heart rate is and then do not pass it, and you make sure that you wear that heart rate monitor. Reason being, I used to not recommend this, but now I do. I was Rumpelteazer in cats, and part of my conditioning for that was running and sprinting while singing at the same time, specifically belting. And it was crazy. I looked insane and I sounded insane. And my partner who played Mungle Jerry, take me a moment there. Mungle Jerry, he did the exact same thing, but we called it like belting and running. It was, or yelting or belling. Anyhow, I digress. But because I did that, it was to elevate and increase my VO2 levels so that I wouldn't need as much oxygen or my body was able to process oxygen maximally, so I could sing and jump and jeter, pas problème, without anything affecting my vocal support. So I had that breath support underneath the entire time. So that when I became pregnant, and in my prenatal training, it always said, you want to be able to work out while having a conversation and not being out of breath. That's a really good gauge about where your heart rate should be. Okay, I thought, perfect, that's what I'm gonna do. And then I spoke to my obstetrician. I'm like, you know what? and my mom gave me birthday money, so I'm like, oh, I'll get myself a heart rate monitor, why not? And then I was shocked to see I would be teaching and I wasn't getting out of breath, and my heart rate was skyrocketing past what my max heart rate should be, what my obstetrician told me. I was scared, honestly. I'm like, okay, how long have I been doing that? Because the whole reason being is the baby's heart is beating so fast that the more you increase your own heart rate, it increases the baby's heart rate, and that can cause undue stress to the baby. And a lot of times you won't know until the baby is born. Sometimes there'll be fecal matter left in the umbilical cord, and that's how you find out.
I need to clarify. Quote unquote, during periods of great fetal stress, the blood flow to the intestines of the fetus is reduced, causing the fetus to move its bowels. The fetal bowel movement increases in meconium staining of the amniotic fluid that is evident during delivery. This is from a study done by Clapp in 2003 from the book Prenatal and Postpartum Exercise Design, Catherine Cram and Gwen Height.
That's what my training has told us. So I didn't want that at all. That's why I recommend the mix of the two. And because I couldn't tell when I was teaching, I thought, oh, I'm fine, I'm not getting under breath. It's not the case. So you'll need to know for yourself, get your heart rate monitor just in case, and then set everything. And this actually has prenatal on it, but I didn't use it because I find it's mostly for running, and running is fine, but it's so hard on the pelvic floor that a lot of prenatal and postpartum people just can't. It's too hard on the joints with all the relaxant in your body, making your joints more supple. Next, if you are in pain at any time whatsoever, during or after class, both times, you stop immediately. If you're in pain in class, then do not push through it. Never push through it when you're pregnant. You get that amber flag, you stop immediately and you call your obstetrician. Same thing with if you bleed during class or after class, either instance, you stop immediately, you call your healthcare provider, and you see them. I cannot stress that enough. After that, urine output. If your urine output is a dark yellow after you're done teaching, if your urine output is a dark yellow after class, you know that you need to increase your water intake during class. So monitor that for yourself. At the end of class, you eat within 45 minutes that protein, fat, carbohydrate, and fiber. If you have any questions about something you're curious about or any comments, please write them down below. I want to talk to you. And I keep forgetting to say this, please subscribe. It really helps me out, and share and like, all of that great stuff helps keep me in YouTube's algorithm so I can keep on making this content because I'm digging it. Okay, until next time. Bye.